Oh, hello. I'm just here to hang out, see if anyone has any questions, see if anyone wants to talk about anything. No one's on yet, but I will probably try to save this for anyone who wants to catch up later. I'm going to be talking about the webinar that we have coming up on August 18th because it is now August. Everybody, if you didn't know, it is August. So 17 days until our webinar, where we will be interviewing the author of this book, Why Can't I Just Leave? And it is obviously about how hard it is to leave narcissistic, abusive, toxic relationships. So again, I wanted to come on here and talk about the book, talk about the webinar, give any information possible for anyone who does want to join. It will be recorded, so if you can't make it on August 18th, you can still get tickets and watch it later. It will, I think, be sent to your email so that you can watch it another time. Also happy to just kind of like chit chat and talk about other things, because usually when I do go live, I kind of just like make myself available for all of you. Yeah, we'll go from there. So how is everyone? Yeah, just hit me with whatever you're thinking. Again, it can be about anything. I'm super flexible when I come on here and have these little chats. We'll see how it goes. What am I doing? Love your videos. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. It keeps me going, because like obviously it ebbs and flows in terms of like wanting to make content and talk about it and things like that. And every time that I doubt myself, I get more comments like that from people saying that my content has been helpful, and it keeps me going because this is so important. And there's not a lot of queer people talking about narcissistic abuse in queer relationships. So I really do want to keep going, and you all keep me energized and kind of keep the momentum going. So I really appreciate that. Welcome in, everybody. Happy Monday. Just here again to just kind of hang out and talk about whatever. Wait, my kid's dad was just calling. Oh no. Not good. Okay, am I still on? Can someone let me know if I'm still on, because okay, one second. Okay, someone let me know if I'm still on. I might have to restart on Instagram because that kind of just went haywire. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, I should be good. I can't tell. The little microphone button is like beeping and going crazy. So somebody let me know if we're still good. Welcome in, everybody. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. I'm sorry about that. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, so hopefully we're okay for now. No sound. Okay, I'm going to be right back on. Oh, is it back? I was about to hop off. Somebody let me know what's going on here. It's nice to finally have internet, or somewhat have internet, because the internet company, if you're following along in my stories, just disconnected my mom's internet for like a week. And even before that, it was just like such crappy service. So it's nice to have internet. I don't think it's like fast enough for me to go live on TikTok. I tried to go live last week on TikTok and it just wasn't happening. Instagram seems to be okay with this speed. So I don't know. Just responded to that message. It's back. It seems good now. Awesome. Well, we will keep going then. I was about to hop off and start over. My phone goes crazy when someone calls when I'm like, Adventure is a family value. I love that name. That is so true. We definitely love our adventure over here. Hi, it's like a Q&A. Yes, absolutely. Ask me anything. I'm kind of here to talk about the webinar we have coming up on August 18th. Now that it is August, I really want to get anyone who needs this kind of help into the webinar because it's the fastest, I think, most affordable way to get people in a place surrounded by, obviously, the author of this book who has her PhD. There are going to be several other amazing content creators in the panel, and we'll be interviewing the author. There'll be a Q&A at the end. So it's just going to be a lot of survivors and people who are still stuck in it, trying to figure out how to get out of these abusive relationships. And it's going to be a really awesome resource. And again, if you're not able to make the actual webinar on August 18th, if you get your ticket, you can watch the playback of it and you can have access to it forever. So if you need to share it with someone, if you need to watch it again, because I know how hard it is to get out of these relationships, and like you might be like, yup, I'm ready. And then either you just don't show up because you're not actually ready. But it goes to your email, or you watch it, or you watch part of it. And then you're like, you kind of like forget about it. You get hoovered back in. And then, a couple months down the road, you're like, oh crap, that webinar would be the perfect tool. And, it'll be full of information like, what is a trauma bond and what is cognitive dissonance and how do you break these things? How do you heal from these things? How do you start your life over after narcissistic abuse or any kind of abuse that you're experiencing, emotional abuse and all of that stuff, which is absolutely horrendous and very difficult to heal from. So if you have any questions about the webinar, obviously I'm here to talk about that, talk about the book. I am halfway through reading it and it is so awesome. I kind of like mentioned this the first time I came on to talk about this book. And she starts the book with a pathological love relationship checklist. And you can see where I went through and checked the things that I experienced. And it's 75 questions long. And I did check most of them, missed in like 2s or 3s, because I would read it and I wouldn't necessarily get triggered, but I would be like, whew, now that I'm out, and I am at the end of August, it'll be a whole year that I've been single, although I was not yet free. And I have a lot of content lined up for that. My birthday is August 10th. So I have some content. I haven't created it yet, but I have ideas to talk about that time in my life where we were broken up, but still living together and all that stuff. And I just recently made an Instagram and a TikTok talking about the timeline, the amount of time that it took me and the steps I had to take to, okay, now we're broken up. You did a fake breakup, but I'm going to take this one seriously. I'm going to get myself out of this, but like how? What do I do now? They're not taking this seriously. They didn't mean it. Now they're, cornering me when I'm in the shower, trying to get me to talk to them, trying to get me to react. What do I do? And so, yeah, August, it'll be a year. And since we broke up, since that day, and a year since my birthday video, which went viral. A lot of you found me either on TikTok or Instagram from the birthday video where I'm like shoveling blueberries nervously into my mouth. I need to have someone like design me a tea that has something to do with the blueberry fiasco. That'd be cool. Something to like raise money for survivors or something like that. I don't know. That'd be cool because the blueberries became super iconic after they got famous. So let's see. Did I miss anything? Hi, everyone who's just joining. Welcome in. This is my usual general hangout, chat session. I'm also happy to answer questions, anything that comes up. I am sort of here to talk about this book and the webinar we have coming up because it is now August, which I cannot believe this year is just flying by. And so if you have any questions about the webinar, how to get tickets to the webinar, anything like that, what's it going to be about, who's going to be there, let's talk about it. Yes, I get it. Okay, good. I love and hate when people understand what I'm talking about. Recently found you on TikTok. You made me feel validated for the first time for leaving my abusive ex. Keep doing the damn thing. Thank you so much. And I am so proud of you. And I'm glad you found the right place, because I'm guessing if you found me, you have or will also find other creators who are talking about their experience and talking about how they healed, and obviously trying to heal the community, because there's boatloads of us who have been through this. Hey, Rach, is the webinar about the book? Should I read it beforehand? Not necessarily. It is about the book. So we will be interviewing the author, Kristen Milstead, PhD. And again, this book is incredible. So I do recommend it. You can get it on Amazon. Obviously, get it on Kindle, whatever you have. But I don't think that you have to read it to be there to understand, because we will be explaining everything. Like we will do a deep dive into like trauma bonds and what that is, cognitive dissonance and what that is, why it's so, what's the word? Like all encompassing. Why is it so hard to break it? Why is it so hard to get out of the brain fog and things like that? And like, how do you heal? How do you move on from this? So absolutely gonna be good for that. Can you talk about the trauma bond healing process? Yes, I can. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different for everyone. I will talk about what helped me and what I tend to recommend to people. Hold on. The question was the trauma bond healing process. Yes. Okay. So for anyone who doesn't know what a trauma bond is, in a nutshell, obviously you can look it up more if you feel like you don't still understand what it is when you are kind of like you're bonded to your abuser. So they're the one hurting you, but you also feel like they're the only one that can fix you. It's literally, it's a physical and a chemical addiction to somebody who's harming you, and you can't get away. You can, obviously, because I did, lots of us do, but you just feel stuck. You want to get away, but then the thought of being without them is horrifying. You can't like imagine your life without them, but you're also like, I hate this. How did I end up here? And I can go into that a little bit more, but in terms of breaking it, I think understanding a trauma bond and what it is. Manjeet Ruprai, who is going to be on the panel and wrote a book. It's like Handbook for Survival of Narcissistic Abuse or something, narcissistic abuse and toxic relationships. Also on Amazon. She's awesome. Her book really helped me. She says that one of the first steps to healing from narcissistic abuse is to learn about it. So that helps a lot. And then going no contact with your abuser if possible. Obviously, this can get really complicated if you have kids. I do know some creators who are parallel parenting with their abuser. It's not co-parenting because the other person isn't co-anything with someone that they've abused and would like to continue abusing. So essentially, you know, like for me, I went no contact and I went cold turkey. And the goal is that you don't check on them. You don't ask about them. You don't have anyone giving you information about them. You don't check their social media. You essentially like just completely stop knowing anything about them, or, you know, they don't have access to you. You're blocking them on all social media, email, phone, Venmo, Cash App, whatever you can think of. And then you kind of break that addiction. And it really is. They say it's like breaking a heroin addiction. I've never been addicted to anything like that, but I mean, I was like going through withdrawals. I would check my phone, like expecting to see their name, but also hoping beyond all hope that I wouldn't see their name, because it's like a really messed up thing and you're like trying to get out of it. And luckily I was left alone for like the time that I was breaking the trauma bond. It's very, very hard. And it's not, I did it alone. Like I had seen some podcasts from Hola Illich, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué tal, tío? Yes, I had some information and I had some books and things like that, but I did it alone. That's not true. I had Landon. But like now that more people are talking about it, we have like these like massive communities of people who, you know, these creators, like I'm in this group. It sounds kind of silly. I'm not used to like being a part of a group, but the Narc Avengers, several of us whom will be at the webinar, and we have each on our platforms like massive communities of people who are coming in our lives and talking about their experiences and asking questions and supporting each other in the comments and things like that. And so hopefully if you need to break a trauma bond, you can find a safe place to relate to other people who are going through it. As horrible as that sounds, it's such a relief to know that you're not alone in this process, because it is the most isolating, horrible, lonely thing that I've ever experienced. I found you well after I ended my relationship, but when I was still struggling with it, you validated how I felt. Thank you so much for telling me that. It always means a lot to me because it reminds me that it's not just people who are currently in it or who have just left. Like, there are a lot of people who, like, maybe you had a relationship 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when you were, like, super young, and then you see something like this and you're like, oh my gosh, why does this feel so familiar? Well, oh my goodness, so and so was doing all of these behaviors and I felt crazy. I felt like I had no control over my emotions. I felt like I couldn't get away from them. And when I did get away, they were stalking me, they were threatening me, blah, blah, blah. And so knowing that it's also helping bring validation and understanding to people who have been free for a very long time, it does again, it keeps me going. All your comments and things like that do really keep me going. So thank you. ¿Qué más? What else, friends? What else are you needing to talk about, learn about, process? I'm a new follower and in a narcissistic relationship, but he's on my Instagram, so I can't interact with your posts, although I do find all your posts so informational. I don't think you know how much. Thank you. Oh, I see the name. I hope you're safe right now. Thank you so much for saying that. And I hope that you are able to find a way out. And if you didn't see my video the other day, it's a couple videos back about the timeline from the day that we broke up, when my abuser gave me the fake breakup, to the time that I actually went no contact. It was almost exactly 2 months. And it's 2 months that feel like a lifetime when you're trying to get out, you're making changes. They're reacting to the changes because they don't like the way that you're starting to gain your power back, and they're losing control over you, and they don't like it. And it feels like a lifetime because most of the time when we're trying to get out of these relationships, you're not just walking out the door. You're not just packing your bags and saying, I'm not going to be here anymore. Bye. They don't let you go. And so I see you, Meredith, and you are not alone. I am here. There's a whole community of us. If you can make it to the webinar, I don't know if you'll be able to, but you can come anonymously if you have to. You can watch it later. You can put a fake name on when you order your ticket. But we're going to be talking about how to get out, how to understand it. And I don't know if, I mean, I feel like that's something that could help you, but obviously it might be super difficult. I don't know your full situation to find the time to come to it, but I know that you want to leave so bad, and I know that it's not easy. So thank you so much for sharing that. What else, y'all? What are you thinking? Nothing is off limits. So if there's something else that you want to ask me about or whatever you want to say, I know a lot of times people are just kind of like hanging out quietly, not sure if they can chime in. But I hope you all feel safe enough to share or ask in this space. Hola, question. Have you seen or experienced victim picking abusers' characteristics? Is that something possible? So, okay, so there's a victim in the relationship, obviously, and they start picking up on their abuser's tendencies, their abusive tactics and things like that. Absolutely. What I like to think about in these situations is that that person is so like think about like nuclear waste when the reactor goes, and like Chernobyl, nothing around it was tainted. Everything became toxic. Everything was, you can't even go near that space even now, this many years later, because it was so bad. And that's essentially like these narcissists or abusive, toxic people are walking nuclear reactors. And when you are near them, that waste spills into you. And there's nothing you can do short of getting completely away and going full no contact and starting over and healing and all of the stuff that we have to do when we leave while they're just off doing the same thing they did to us and everyone in line before us and everyone in line after us. We have to recover from that toxic waste that we were exposed to. And it is a long process. But absolutely, it spills over into everyone around them. And if you think about, like, because a lot of times when we talk about narcissistic abuse, we're talking about partners. But when you have people who have narcissistic parents, there's the family unit, and say there's like 3 or 4 kids, the toxicity is spilling onto everyone in that family. So, I mean, everyone's going to react differently. Some children of narcissists become, super people pleasing, super, like they're the scapegoat. Like there's, all the different players on the chessboard of the narcissistic parent. There could be another narcissist or 2 narcissist babies or whatever. But the whole family is being poisoned, essentially. So yes, if you have been in an abusive relationship and all of a sudden you're stonewalling and you're storming off and you're saying horrible things and you're like, am I a child? Am I a teenager fighting with my mother? Like, I'm an ugly person now on the inside. What's going on? Yes, I've been there. I don't recognize myself. I don't like looking at myself in old videos, which, by the way, I found hordes of old TikTok drafts from when I was in it that I will be screen grabbing from TikTok and sharing and talking about what I was feeling when I made them, because I made a lot of stuff when I was in it that I couldn't post, and I can't even like look at myself. Horrible things. He tells me to kill myself every day. I don't think he can read this, right? If I don't know how it works, if he can be logged in on his phone at the same time and see this, I really don't know. Be careful. He won't be able to read it afterwards unless he follows me. Well, do you follow me? Because if I post this later, I don't know if the comments, I don't know if the comments show up on Instagram after I post it. Can somebody let me know? Because if so, I will not post this on Instagram. I don't know if anybody knows. But nobody deserves that. Nobody deserves to be told that they should not be alive, that they should not be here, that they don't deserve happiness, that no one will ever love them, that like they do, all of that stuff. Nobody deserves to be treated that way. I'm struggling with going no contact. I know the importance of it. It's just hard to actually do it, and finding a therapist seems very overwhelming. It does. It's very difficult from what I'm hearing from people. It's really hard to get in with a therapist. The most important thing that we as survivors have to do is find someone who is trauma informed, who has hi, welcome becoming trauma informed. Right when I said that, someone popped in with that name. And that's why I became a trauma recovery coach. Taking my test tomorrow, by the way. I don't know if I'll pass it, but I'm hoping to get this all wrapped up so that I can start coaching now soon. But I have said this a few times in my lives. I got more help as a survivor from others in my group we were doing like reciprocal coaching and having feedback from the third party and things like that, doing a rotation, from 5 sessions of coaching, 25 minutes with a trauma-informed coach-y, like almost coachy, coacher, versus the 1.5 years that I paid for individual and couples therapy. I'm not trashing therapists, but many, many, many survivors from what I'm seeing are saying therapy for this isn't working because they're just not coming at it from a trauma-informed lens where they're saying, okay, this is how trauma affects the body physically, emotionally, mentally, biologically. how this gets handed down generation to generation, all that stuff. That's what we've been studying for 6 months now. Every week, several times a week, going to classes, practicing coaching. Oh, hi. I'm recording on YouTube as well because I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel and I have like almost no followers on YouTube. So I'm just like simultaneously on and I have one person on my YouTube. So I'm like, hello, Safeway, he's gone. But anyway, thank you everyone who said good luck. But back to going no contact, it is very difficult. So please don't be hard on yourself in terms of like, I did too. Let me tell you this. When I got on the plane to come to my mom's house on October, I believe it was October 3rd. See, these dates just stand out in my mind. I had the idea in my head that as soon as I hop on the plane to go to Indiana, I'm going no contact. I'm just gonna never respond, which wrong thinking. It's gotta be a block. And it took me 17 more days. 17 more days and accidentally being exposed to a conversation that my abuser was having with their next supply, which they had been working to line up before I left because they knew I was leaving from August 29th when we broke up. Now it's late September. They know they're losing me. Like I said, they're losing that power over me. They're seeing me take back my own power and they're like, I gotta line up that new girl at the gym who's cute and looks like she has just the right amount of or just the right trauma that I can sweep in there. I gotta do this now. And I saw that conversation and it was so exact. I mean, word for word, the things they said to me. And like that, I went no contact because it was like, this is my chance. Like at this point, and this is me, this is not you, but I was like, what are you? You're in Indiana. You made these plans to get out of here. It took you a long time to get to this point. You're safe. Your kid is removed from them. They can't get you. They can't get into your mind. You gotta do it. So I was already like away from them and all that stuff. Obviously, all of our stories are going to be different. They're going to look different. They're going to be handled different. But yes, it is essential to breaking the trauma bond. It is essential to getting free of them, to starting the healing process, to having the fog lifted, which will help you understand what was really going on in the relationship versus what you were being told was going on. Is your abuser who you have children with? I'm sorry if that's offensive. I just haven't been following you for a long time. I'm sorry. That is not offensive. It is not offensive to me to be asked if that was my abuser. What I don't like is when people assume that it was a man because I'm queer. So I'm like, why does everyone just automatically assume it's a man? And sometimes I correct and sometimes I don't because obviously it shows how society thinks of abuse and who can abuse and who can't and blah, blah, blah. But no, my abuser is not my son's biological or legal parent. My son's biological legal parent is my ex-husband who I was with before I got with my abuser. And he and I do co-parent to the best of our abilities. This is a side note. I'm now realizing that I have some things that I need to work on to be able to do what we have been doing. So I'm taking like sort of like relationship boundaries. We've got those locked away. We have for 3 years, but so we've talked about like wanting to do as a family. I need to feel jump into another relationship because it puts you at risk of getting into an abusive relationship and it puts you at risk of shoving down the trauma and the pain and the things that you should be healing from when you leave a relationship. And I did not do that because I was not allowed to talk about him, think about him, journal about him, go to therapy about him, talk to him. It's not funny. It's horrible. But now I am finding that like as I work like leaps and bounds healing from that abusive relationship. Now I have to go back and I'm trying to work on like now I'm with my family and I'm like, holy crap, I need to work on this family trauma. And I need to work on the trauma I have from the relationship with my son's dad. And I need to work on, so absolutely. Hey, Lindsay, how are you doing, beautiful? I'm good, Tracy. How are you, beautiful? Okay, let me scroll back here. I left my narc ex before the discard. That day, she assaulted me. I managed to block her, go no contact, and left my apartment for a while. It's been a month. Is it too late to file a police report? It's very traumatic for me to write it out and re-experience it. I don't know because I'm not a lawyer or a cop or anything like that. I have had people ask if I would go back and like retroactively file a police report for my abuse. And I don't know if I could because it was all so long ago and everything like that. But, depending on the state, from what I've seen, there's like each state has different, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but each state has like different laws about how long it's been. Okay. I don't know. I was learning about this when I was watching what's his name? The Olympic coach. I don't want to trigger anybody, but the Olympic coach that was horrible that finally people were able to speak up about. And there was like a time limit on when you can file that. And I think they were just within it and they did it. And Larry Nassar. But you know what? You can always, if it's too hard for you to call and ask, you could have a trusted friend or relative call and say, what's the time limit? This happened a month ago. This person is now wanting to file a report maybe not to press charges, but to have some protection in place and see what the cops say. And then, yes, it is very traumatic to write about or, reiterate what happened and things like that. So if you do follow through, again, try to bring someone with you so that you have someone there supporting you. Oh, I knew that. I'm sorry. It's okay. It's a lot to remember. I have made my life pretty complicated. Now it's not. Now it's nice and simple, but a lot of people get confused about who's who, especially newer people. Whenever I throw something up about like being on a trip with my ex-husband, my son's dad, or doing this or doing that, people are like, I'm confused. Didn't he abuse you? And I'm like, no. So every once in a while, I'll just put a PSA up on the profile and be like, I'm queer. I was abused in a queer relationship. I don't do peace signs, but sometimes when I'm excited, I just like throw it out. I don't know what to do with my hands. So interesting that services are so sparse for queer folks in abusive situations. Absolutely. And that's why I felt so driven to talk about this and why I felt so driven to become a trauma recovery coach, because that's one of the biggest things for me when I'm going to work with someone to help me. I want them to be at the very least an ally. But how do I really know they're an ally? I really want a queer person sitting across from me. And that is, like you said, few and far between. So hopefully I will be available and I will have time, and I will, when I start taking clients, it's going to be very minimal because I don't want to be like coaching one-on-ones all the time every day and people will become numbers and all that stuff. I will have a couple clients, and then I want to be working on like group coaching or a webinar or like a little thing on my website that you can come to for references and things like that. That's what I really want to do because this stuff needs to be out there. And I kind of want to write a book, but I don't know if I'll ever get around to it because I have a really hard time focusing. I'm good. So glad to be here. I'm so proud of you, girl. Thank you so much. Yes, each state has different laws. Sometimes contacting the county you live in is helpful in walking you through things. Yes, that's great. And if you can also find like a DV shelter or organization nearby, that can be helpful too. In retrospect, reached out to the local organization because I wanted some guidance on a couple of things. One, I think, was getting my dogs back. I was able to luckily work through that because someone randomly offered help probably the day before I was going to lose them both. Like the timeline on that one was ridiculous. The universe said no to that one. I do not to this day understand how I lucked out so much on that one, but I realized afterwards that resource was right there, that they could have helped me figure out what to do with the dogs. They could have helped me XYZ. Like there were a lot more things that could have been more helpful had I known they were there. So if you can find something like that, you and a dog. Is Millie your dog? Because my dog's name was Millie and I think it's the best name. I didn't say him when I wrote that. I knew your abuser was a woman. I didn't know if you had a sperm donor or if you were married. I'm sorry. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's totally fine. I'm pretty open about all of this, but yeah, I was married. That is awesome. Thank you. You have helped me process my own abusive queer relationship that ended years ago. It was also my first one. Thanks for being so vocal. You have completely changed my own trauma recovery. Yes, you're awesome. Thank you so much, Hannah. That means so much to me. I did do some podcasts during Pride Month about queer specific stuff because I try to keep a lot of my content really general so that obviously more people can relate to it. I don't really like to isolate people, but again, like driving home the fact that queer people can get in abusive relationships is so important. And I'm like, where's that fine line where, people are finally paying attention to that this is a thing versus people are saying, well, this is a thing because, they're homophobic or whatever. But it's so common for people who just come out who are just finally realizing they're queer to land in the arms of someone abusive because they're right there. And a lot of times, well, in my experience, that person preys only on straight girls who are trying to figure out if they're queer or not. I knew I was queer, like right off the bat. I was not a good candidate for them to date because I was like, yup, here we go. I'm a lesbian. And, before long, they didn't like that about me and needed to look for someone who's at that level again, where you're, just coming out, naive, don't really understand what a queer relationship should look like, kind of like, okay, I'll follow your lead. You must know what you're talking about. Hey, buddy, you're supposed to be sleeping. Did something happen? I'll be right back if you want to stick around. Are you okay? Is he not loading? Man. Kiddo was supposed to be asleep. Sorry about that. Thanks for everyone who's stuck around. I'm so sorry about that. Y'all know I'm a mom if you followed me more than 5 seconds. Millie is the dog. Yep, Millie was my dog too. I figured. So many people said, I definitely need to check out those podcasts. Yes, I would love that. My podcast is called It's Not All Rainbows. It's on Spotify and podcast app and everything like that. And if you like it, please, I'm just going to say it, rate, review, subscribe, whatever the heck, because I really want it to get out to more people who need it. It's a baby podcast, but it feels good to me to be doing that. So many people said it's not possible to have female and female abuse or male and male abuse in other queer relationships. Thank you for saying that. I just recently had someone, they were trying to clarify on one of my abuse videos, and they said something about like him. I'm like, well, it wasn't a man, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, well, I assumed it was a man because you acted like you were scared. Like you said, you just like escaped the relationship. Like, how could you be scared if it was a woman? And I was like, well, I like meant what I said in this video. Like, this is how, and well, how big was she? Was she bigger than you? Was she like, why were you scared? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of like went back and forth a couple times. She was like, well, you know that anyone can be abusive, right? And I was trying to, it just like, it's crazy. The things that people will say to make it not make sense, rather than just being like, I do agree. Anyone could probably have the capacity to be abusive. That makes sense. Also common for queer people who are rejected by families of origin. Yes, don't accept them. Absolutely. Very true. So you knew you were queer the whole time you were married, just masking? No, I did not. I had been dating women before I met him. And I met him and we started hanging out and he was really nice. I don't have a great dating history. So the bar was very low. He's a good person, but it wasn't a great marriage. Like it wasn't abusive. It just like we could not communicate. We just couldn't get it together. But I basically like made a choice. It's not a choice. Sexuality is not a choice, but I made a choice to like file it away and was like, you're not gay. Like, you haven't like found a woman who you're like, like crazy about and like, oh, like you've been dating them your whole life. And I convinced myself that I was straight, but it did haunt me throughout the relationship. And I really didn't fully understand it. If you really want to learn about this, look up compulsory heterosexuality. It's a very real thing where, we're all raised in a society where being straight is the default and that's what you're supposed to be. And so you see everyone around you being straight and you're like, I'm straight. I don't know why this isn't working. I don't know. And then I realized it and then there was no turning back. And I was like, this is not something that I can do. But no, I think that most of us who were married to men who thought we were straight. Like none of us knew, none of us, I mean, like we weren't masking on purpose. There might be a couple who are like, okay, well, I'm going to stick it out for the kids. But most of us are just like, once we figure it out, we do figure out how to make those changes and how to be our true selves. But it takes a long ass time to figure it out when all the messages where we've been given our whole lives says that we have to be straight. Good evening. Welcome in. I was distracted. Abuse is common if you are queer and lost your family of origin after coming out. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Have you ever been on the outside of an abusive relationship, friend or family member? Even if you haven't, what strategies do you use to support them? It is very hard. I'm actually one of my goals after I finish my coaching certification, I get that out of the way because right now I'm feeling very bogged down by like the wrap up of that. Ow. Sorry, I have one of these piercings is like not happy, but about how to support a friend or family member that's in it, because it is very hard. You can't convince someone to leave. You can't convince someone they're being abused if they're not ready to accept it. Basically like offering them support, saying, I'm here for you. You know, if things get worse, you always have a place to stay. You can call me anytime or show up. I'm here for you. Just want you to be safe. A lot of times friends will turn away from you. I turned away from several friends who I felt like they knew more than I was ready to admit. And I just kind of like didn't ghost them, but I just became kind of like closed off and was just like, yeah, no, things are fine. Because I mean, I was lying to myself like on accident. And that's what cognitive dissonance is like you have this, okay, this is bad. They're like, I didn't say the word abuse until I was out of the relationship. It was like, this is really bad. Something's really wrong here. And I really don't think it's me, even though I'm being told that. But then they're telling you that you're the bad one and that they're fine and everything's good and they're fighting for the relationship. And you're like, huh, and you're juggling and you don't really know what's going on. So, you know, it's very, very hard when someone is stuck in it. And that's why I really, really want people to, you know what, if you can make it, and this is something that you're interested in, come to this webinar on August 18th. Why can't I just leave? Even if you've never been in an abusive relationship, this webinar is going to be amazing. We're interviewing the author of this book. There's going to be several of us survivors who create content on the panel. Manjeet Ruprai, Lisa Sunny from Stronger Than Before, Bree from Abuse is Abuse, Dr. Carrie McAvoy is going to be on it. We're all coaches or soon to be coaches. We're all by the sessions, live, meet and greet, all kinds of things like that if you can make it. I haven't started promoting that yet because I have other things that I have to do first, like the webinar, like finishing my coaching cert and all that stuff. But if you haven't been in an abusive relationship and you want to learn about it, this could be a great webinar for you as well. And again, if you can't make it on August 18th, it will be sent to your inbox and you can watch it anytime. You can share it with someone who might need it. So just putting that out there again. The link is in my bio, period. I do have a highlight on Instagram that is called webinar that will have the link in there. But currently I have my beacons link in my bios across the board so that if you click on there, you can find webinar and get to it easily. What's the average times to be seen for trauma recovery? Once a week or more? Once every 2 weeks? It just depends. It just depends what's going on. And actually, that's a really good question that I would like to ask for guidance on from my from the association that I'm getting my certification from, because obviously, like as coaches, we want to do like what's best for our clients. And sometimes you definitely need a check-in, and once a week or every other week might not be enough to like keep you on track and keep you working through that stuff. Because a lot of times as survivors, that coach is the only person who sees you, who validates you, who understands what you're talking about, who's just listening and letting you talk and going, I hear you. I hear you. A lot of times in our lives, like, you know, you tell your mom, you tell your sister, and they're like, and so yes, I think in a queer relationship, people get attached fairly quickly just for the idea of validation or acceptances. I could be wrong. Absolutely. You know, I don't want to say especially when you first come out, and there's an added layer when you first come out of like desperation to be seen as a queer person. That's in my podcast as well. I think it's like why does abuse feel different in a queer relationship? Because you want to be seen as a queer person. You want to be seen. That's one of the reasons. Also, there's more that I can go into if people want to talk about that. But it is a very real layer to the complex situation that is any kind of abuse, let alone queer abuse. Wait, I missed it. You have a podcast. People keep calling me and interrupting. Oh no, I'm sorry. I probably will throw this up on YouTube and Instagram as well. So if you want to go back and try to find it, which is kind of a hassle, so whatever. The podcast is called It's Not All Rainbows, and it's on everywhere you can find podcasts. You'll see my gay little self on the cover, and you'll know it's me. Oh my God! Hey, welcome in. Hang on, I have a question in the question box. Oh wait, it says no. Okay, wait. I'm confused. Did someone send me a question and delete it because weird? Oh, were there periods of times you felt like things were getting better? Thank you for the question. Yes, there were. There were times when the physical abuse was at a lull, months at a time. So I was like, well, we've come so far. They're not tackling me anymore. I don't want to trigger anybody. Obviously, I said physical abuse first. I usually do a trigger warning when I say stuff like that. So I apologize if someone was like, what? The physical abuse being out of lull definitely made me like, like the bar is on the floor or like in the basement or like down in like the core of the earth in these relationships. And you're like, oh, we can take it up to the next layer. What is it? The mantle? I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but like, we'll just, it's still subterranean here, but like we've come so far. I can leave the house without being tackled. This is incredible. They're really, really working on themselves, but really they do that so that you think everything is good when it's really not. And there would be like short periods of time when we would get along. Like we did a save the relationship trip to Mexico. I don't think they knew that that's what I was like seeing it as because I was out the door and then we got invited to Mexico and we went. The first like 3 days were very good. And that last night, massive argument, massive, just absolute horrible, like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh yeah. And it was odd because like from what, like I remember like I would have a breakdown and then I'd be okay and I would go on and then I'd have a breakdown, but it would be like a worse breakdown or like easier to break down. And then each time, like I remembered how bad it was. So I'd be like, la, 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 everything's good. And then I would crash. Like we went to Mexico. That was a horrible thing that happened. I had a horrible breakdown, was like yelling, why are you like this? Like so pissed off because I'm like, why am I still here? This person is horrible. And then, we came home and again, I'm like, no, I think it's okay. I think that was like a one-time thing. It's crazy when you talk about this. And that's the whole point. They want you to sound crazy because it is crazy. And I was like, okay, maybe everything will be good because we finally did the trip. And they're always telling me that we have to get away from my son. We have to go on trips to save the relationship, blah, blah, blah. And they just were the same as always. And I just crashed. And this time it wasn't like a crash in front of them, but it was just a crash of like, have you all seen that? It's like a graphic or like a little video where it's a bird and he has like a beak and there's a little yellow thing and it's people use it for drug addiction. I actually saw someone do it for narcissistic abuse where you're like, and you're glowing and happy and you get it and you slurp it up and you're like, yay. And then each time you crash and you crash and you crash until you're just a shell of a human or like the bird is just like super toxic and like borderline not alive anymore. It's not funny. I don't know why I was like smiling. Because I was describing it weird, but that image is what came to me with the whole, crashing harder and harder and harder because you're trying to get these hits and that's the love bombing and the devaluation and that cycle of abuse and not abuse and blah, blah, blah. And you're constantly chasing after that hit. When are they going to love me again? When are they going to say they love me? When are they going to do something nice? When are they going to reach for me? When are they going to, like a slot machine? When is it going to be, yay, ding, 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 ding. Oh, crap. Nope. I don't think you do this anymore. You just push a button. Don't. And then, yay, I won $50. Yay. Okay. No. Oh, yay. Oh, I was on zero. Now I have $50 again. And that's how it is. And did you ever have moments of weakness? Wanted to go back or ask them to come back. I use they, them pronouns when I talk about them, by the way. So I'm just going to correct it when I read it, but that's okay. I've got my girls now and we just moved into our new home, but I feel so alone and empty. So it is absolutely normal and okay to miss whatever it is you miss about them. It's normal because like there were moments that I would lay down and I was like, I miss having someone next to me because I lived with someone for 2.5 years. Do I want that person next to me? No, absolutely not, because they were horrible to me, horrible to my son. But our brains also do trick us. Once you're out of it, you kind of start to think, was it so bad? Did I make this up? Am I crazy? Because they always told me I was. And they always would gaslight me after something happened and say, well, I never said that, or I didn't mean that, or you're taking it the wrong way. And you're gaslighting yourself. And you're like, what's the truth here? I don't know. I will say that when I first left, it was the day after my son and I got out of the house. Remember, I'm not free for another 2 months. And I was pacing the house. I had him doing an activity. He was fine. And I was like, I think I overreacted. I think I'm going to go home. I think I freaked out last night and I left. And as I was walking out the door, they looked me in the eyes. I'm holding my son and they said, you're doing this. You don't have to leave. You're doing this. I'm the problem. I overreacted. I didn't have to leave. I can go home. All my stuff is there. The dogs are there because I didn't feel safe taking the dogs with me that night. I just brought my son with me. And what I did was reach out to someone who had been their partner in the past. And I said, hey, luckily this person followed me on the Instagram. And I said, I'm at the risk of sounding crazy. I need to know, did this person physically abuse you? I don't need to know about all the emotional. I don't have to like right now. Like, I just need to know this one answer. Were you physically abused? Yes. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. And that helped me. And I took screenshots. I blanked out the person's name because that's not fair. And I sent it to my sister and I sent it to several other people because once those people knew that my abuser was physically abusive to not just me, but more than one person, there was no going back. That was my ticket to freedom. Now people know the things that I've been hiding and protecting them. Now people know. Yeah, buddy? He's supposed to be sleeping. 1 second. I'll be right back. What happened, bud? Oh, no. It just takes a while, okay? Woo! I got a little heated there for a second. I got excited. Thanks all everyone who is hanging out while I'm dealing with my kiddo. Obviously, I'm a mom. I gotta take care of my kid. He is supposed to be sleeping. And I think the attachment not let them see the abuse side of things. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Attachment is a very real thing. Thank you for being so vulnerable and real. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you're here tonight. I feel like you were supposed to be here, and I hope it's helpful. A place to stay is life. I had 3 different friends. House keys in my glove compartment. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that you cares about you. No one's going to help you and blah, blah, blah. And you had 3 keys and you had 3 ways out. And that is incredible. I wish all survivors had that. I didn't have any. I did. I had to fly to them. I didn't have any local ones, which I didn't want to stay local anyway. How did you become so strong? I remembered who I was. I remembered who I was. Yeah, buddy. Here, sit right here so I can finish this, okay? Okay, sorry folks, I'm gonna wrap it up because I gotta take care of the kiddo. And I'm so sorry I didn't get to answer all. There's so many questions on here that I didn't get to. If y'all want to wait another couple of minutes, I will help him really quick. We're just having a little bit of an issue here. I will leave it up. Let me know if you want me to keep going because there are a lot of questions here. If you want to chat amongst yourselves, I will leave it up and hang around. Just go. I'll turn this off later. I'll be right back. Okay. That's frustrating, isn't it? So frustrating. You just have to be patient, buddy. This usually does not happen. Okay. All right, I'm going to try to catch up here really quick. I appreciate you all like helping each other out. Are the tickets free? Also, can you repeat the name of the other author who wrote about the trauma bond? Manjeet Roo Prai. That's her name on Instagram and TikTok. And she's on, it's just kind of how it sounds as well. Survival Guide to Narcissistic and Toxic Relationships or something like that. It's like a little orange book. The tickets are $25. I'm an LMHC and I've been with my therapist for 18 months, usually one time per week, but in crisis, 2 times a week can be so useful. Yuck. I hear so much about trauma recovery. Are there steps with that? Can you tell me what is to be expected? Thank you for your time today. That's a super complicated question because trauma is so profound, especially childhood trauma, which is like why we are all the way that we are. And I don't think that there are like specific steps for healing trauma. And also I'm glad that you've heard that term because it is finally people are realizing like, holy crap, we are all just walking around full of trauma, don't know what to do next. How do we get better? Like, how do I fix this? And we're all different and we all have different kinds of trauma and we've all reacted and our brains have formed and told us different messages and all the things in different ways. So I don't want to say that there's like exact steps, but like trying to figure out what that trauma is, which can of course be very painful, very time consuming because you're like a lot of us, it's like pre-verbal and we don't even know. Learning about our family history, the family trauma, like what has been handed down from us. What did our mothers experience, our fathers? What did our grandparents experience? What's the family thing that's just been handed down that everyone has been carrying for generations and things like that. But let me see what is to be expected. Eventually feeling much better, eventually being able to handle triggers and be in places or be in situations or hear words and things like that you couldn't before once you're working through that. But before you get there, a lot of pain. I know that doesn't make it sound very desirable, but a lot of pain. It's a very painful process to say, these things happened to me when I was little. I had no control over it. I did not deserve this, even though I've told myself that I did, or someone else told me that I did, or this happened when I was 20 or when I was 30. I had no control of that. That is not fair. My brain is now wired differently because that person chose to do this to me when I was 9 or whatever. Oh my God, yes, they read all the self-help books. I might have missed something. about the self-help books, but do none of the work. Okay, I think I might have missed something, but absolutely they do. They do. And also it's a little bit scary because they will learn about trauma responses and all that stuff, and then they'll use it to control you, and they'll use it to like pathologize you and all that stuff. So if you are in an abusive relationship and you start to learn about things and you learn about your own trauma and what a trauma bond is and what a narcissist is and what all of these things are, do not tell them what you know. Keep it to yourself because they will turn it around and use it against you. Chasing the dragon. You're describing my brain for the entire relationship I was in. Exactly. It's so similar that when you finally hear someone talking about this stuff, you're like, I'm pretty sure they're talking about me. They've been watching me. They wrote this book about me, whatever. Amazing life. Thanks so much for your time and honesty, openness. Thank you so much for being here. That was very courageous. I don't know what that's about. I'm sorry. I got sidetracked. Mom life. Absolutely. I can't even tell you how much I connect with you right now. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. Again, I'm trying to catch up here. In your opinion, did having Adler in the picture help you leave or did it make it more difficult? And what have you seen is true in general? Both. That was a great question. It kept me there for a long time because my abuser used him as a pawn. So anytime that I would say, I'm leaving, I can't do this anymore, I feel effing crazy, I got to get out of here, this isn't good for anybody, they would cry. And they never cried any other time, only when I was trying to leave and only because they couldn't live without Adler. And I fell for it many times. And at the end, they would call me crying, can I see Adler? I miss him. They had a flying monkey tell me that they were crying because they missed him. And I was just like, you should have thought about that. You really should have, because now we're both traumatized and now we both have to go through this process of forgetting about you. Well, for one of us, but learning about you and why and all this stuff and like healing and making sure this never happens again, because ain't nobody getting near my kid like that again. But at the end, it helped me leave. And that was going to be my answer was like, you know, how'd you get so strong? It was like my son. I truly believe that if it wasn't for him and him starting to say things to me like, no, Mama, I only want you. Mama, I don't want to be around them. Mama, just me and you are going today, right? He knew before I did that that person was not okay to be around. And it's crazy. We don't give kids enough credit, that's sure. But to answer your question, both can be true. A lot of people will find the strength to leave because they want better for their children. And I had a very real fear that he was going to turn out like them if he stayed around. That was something that came up into my brain a lot. If we stay here, is he going to be like them? Is he going to treat people like they do? I can't live with that. But people do stay because they're bullied into it. You know, if it's a legal/biological parent, which my abuser was not, they're going to court. They're doing everything they can to mess with you. And it's a horrible, horrible situation. I want to become who I was so bad, who you were, but even better. Because I know some people have said that it's triggering to see me doing so well and to see me this far removed and to see me happy and all that stuff. And I fully understand. And I am so sorry to anyone who sees my happiness or anyone else's and feels sad and ashamed, because that is not how you should feel at all. That is not how, I don't like to use the word should. That is not, how do I say this without using the word should? I'm going to use the word should. We should not be feeling ashamed for what our abusers are putting us through. But it's a normal reaction to seeing someone and you're still in it and being like, how come I can't get out? How come I'm stuck? And we're all on our own journey. And I was where you were at one point, and I believe that you will get there too. Mine hit me and still says no one should touch the other. That's like the double standard of manipulative. Yeah. I can go out, but you can't. I can wear that, but you can't. I can do this, but you can't. One of the things I say when people share things is like shocked, but not shocked, because I'm shocked that there are so many people who act like this and treat people in these ways. And I'm also not shocked because they're all so similar. And it's like, yeah, that sounds like something someone would do, as much as I can't wrap my mind around it. I got him with my nails, pushing him off me. Yeah. I just don't know how to leave with no money and no place to go. It's very difficult. Try to find anybody that you can. I didn't want to come to my mom's house. I didn't want to come back here like, oh, hey, failed relationship. I'm 34. Yeah, I was 34. Okay, I was like, was I 34 last year? Well, I'm coming home with my kid and I need a place to stay for like up to 3 months because I'm not going back until my son's dad is back. Like I had the next 90 days all planned out. There is no shame in going wherever you need to go and asking for help for the time being to get out. And yes, some people really don't have, like, I'm very lucky that I had my mom. I was able to go travel and visit people and stay with them. Think of every possibility you can find. And obviously it has to be someone who doesn't really know your abuser and sympathize with him and won't give him information. Money is definitely a huge factor. Good night, Adler. Hopefully he stays asleep. It's actually pretty late, but we are jet lagged. We got jet lagged when we got to Vegas and we're struggling and we're like, oh my gosh, we're going to bed early, but actually it's midnight. And then we come back and we're like, let's go to bed. No, we can't. We're not tired yet. Take your time. Thank you so much for being here. You helped so many people. Thank you so much. The Maid, the Netflix show, gave a really interesting perspective into a woman who had no money, no resources. Yes, it did. Very, very triggering and very, very real. Sending love and strength to you, Mama. Thank you so much. It's so hard because it's easy for outsiders like family to tell me to just leave, but they have no idea the hell I live with my children every single day. I'm sorry, I can't send you a direct message so these people have to see my messages. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Don't apologize for being here. Don't apologize for taking up space. Most people who stay in my lives are here for the same thing. I have people who pop in who aren't necessarily here for abuse conversations, but most of the people who are hanging out are willing to have these conversations and say these things. So don't apologize. But absolutely, I do make a lot of content about the just leave thing. That's the title of the thing tonight. Also because why can't I just leave? But it's not helpful. And also, unfortunately, people who don't understand this kind of abuse think it's helpful. And they will never understand. And unless they really start listening and paying attention to us saying that it's not, see your happiness as motivation and proof that it's possible to push through. Thank you so much. I'm so glad. That was my hope, was that if I came here and was like, hey, you can do this. You don't have to go to Spain every 3 months like I do. That's my thing. But what's your thing? You can get there. You can find it. And I just really hope, I really, really hope that people can do it and get there and feel this feeling, because you all deserve it. I always got, I can cry and be emotional, but not you, because you're supposed to be the guy. Yeah, that's super abusive and horrible and patriarchal and all that crap. Okay, I'm caught up. Thanks for sticking with it, y'all. And anybody who's watching the replay later, I'm so sorry, because not fun to be like, what? She was gone for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Obviously, you can just skip forward. Hey, Jamie, how's it going? I just finally caught up. I did a rampage of responses really quick because I got really behind. And I could either hang out a little bit longer if people have a couple more questions, or we can wrap this up because I've been on for 1 hour and 11 minutes. Usually I do 1 hour. So it's been a good live, though. I'm glad I came on. And yeah, I'm so thankful for all of you. And I love how you all were helping each other and responding to each other while I was helping my kid. And you stuck around. That's really cool. It's a great community of people here. So let's see. I know I've mentioned it several times throughout this live, but again, the link is in my bio, and also on Instagram, there is a highlight called webinar. Click through a couple things to find the link. The link should take you to the thing to actually buy it. If it's the wrong link, I need to check on it, make sure, because I was originally posting the wrong link. But if you can't make it on August 18th to the webinar, they will be recording it and they will send it out to your email. So you can watch it later and you can watch it at any time. So if you can't make it, don't be like, oh no, what am I going to do? This is really important information, because it'll be there for you later. I have a question from YouTube. Hi, hello. Are most domestic abusers narcissists? Not necessarily. There's a lot of crossover. And I don't know the numbers. Unfortunately, we may never know the numbers because a lot of narcissists don't seek treatment and do not get diagnosed. But no, not all domestic abusers are narcissists. What else, y'all? It is 10:45 p.m. here in good old Indiana. So if you have anything that's just you gotta get off your chest or just a random question or two, I'm here for it. If not, we should all go to bed. I don't know what time it is where you are, but yeah, I'll give it a second here. But would you say personality disordered? I don't have the research for that. I think that a lot of abusive people, so hold on, let me say that. All abusive people have severe trauma. Severe trauma. My abuser, severe childhood neglect and trauma, and a lot of narcissists have been horribly traumatized as children, and their survival mechanism, their way of surviving this world is being abusive. And it's not okay. And we don't have to put up with that. And we don't have to stay because we're like, oh, they have a personality disorder and it stems from trauma. I agree. Yes, thank you. I have a personality disorder and it's not my fault and you should feel sorry for me. Well, no, I do feel sorry for you. I have a lot of compassion for you that your parents missed the mark so terribly. And a lot of people in my age group, our parents really did miss the mark through really no fault of their own a lot of the time because they weren't given the tools to raise us. But yeah, deeply, deeply traumatized for sure. But again, it's not an excuse to abuse somebody. And we need to try, if possible, to get away from them. Toxic people, narcissists don't change. I have to co-parent with one. Absolutely. There are a couple of self-aware narcissists that I work with a lot. Lee Hammock at Mental Healness and Ben Taylor at Raw Motivations. And they are narcissists and will always be narcissists, but they are working very, very hard. Lee says he's been in therapy for 4 years or so and will be for the rest of his life to be in control of who he is and what he experiences as a narcissist. But yeah, they're not going to change. They're not going to go to therapy and magically be fixed. They're not probably going to treat you like you deserve to be treated. It's a very, very difficult thing. I don't feel like my therapist is supportive from trauma recovery, but was supportive for the relationships. She suggests I'm highly self-aware and I don't really have support. I'm struggling. That was my experience with therapy as well. A lot of times, I said this earlier in the live, they are not trauma informed. For some reason, when all these people went to school to become therapists, they didn't learn about trauma and where it comes from and how it happens when we're children. Brain makeup is changed when you experience trauma. They don't know about it. And so, I'm not, if you're a therapist and you're in here, you're watching this later, please don't come at me. It won't work anyway, because I experienced what I experienced. I will only work with trauma-informed coaches from now on. Coaches, not therapists. Unless the therapist is like proving to me what they know, that they know more than what I just learned in my 6 months of studying trauma. Not that I know everything, because I absolutely don't. Sometimes y'all ask me questions and I'm like, I actually don't know, because I haven't researched that. I don't know everything, y'all. But like, therapists, prove to me that you know everything that the association just taught me and more, and then maybe I'll trust you. Because that's the person that's supposed to be helping you figure out what's going on. Figure out how to get help. See you talking and hear what you're saying and say, hold on a minute, I think someone might be abusing you. Are you safe at home? And a lot of times they don't see it. How to make kids feel more comfortable. You brought up how your son knows more than he lets on. What should I notice? Are you still in the relation? Are you actively with the abuser, or have you left it? Because those are two different things. I don't know if you need, if you depend on Sign or something, but if I post this after, you will see the captions. Sorry, I don't typically SimCom, but I don't know if you needed that. I don't know if Instagram has live captioning, so sorry if you needed that. Trauma-informed therapists do exist. It's just hard to find a good one. I did find one, and it's been amazing. Hard to find a good one, and if you do find a good one, probably really booked out. So it is kind of a bleak outlook when it comes to that. But like Jamie said, thank you for saying that, it is possible. And a lot of times, we weren't taught how to like shop for therapists. Like we shop for cars and we shop for whatever, furniture for your house. If that therapist isn't working for you, buy a therapist and look for a new one. Try to find one that does the like a discovery call, and you can decide if it's a right fit for you. Ask them all the questions. Are you trauma informed? What have you studied in terms of trauma? Are you LGBTQ friendly? How so? Things like that, and make sure they're a fit for you. Because if you're queer, you do not want a therapist that doesn't understand queer people. If you're I've heard a lot of, I don't really have, this isn't something I know about, but like a lot of people of color are going to want a therapist that is also a person of color, because there's layers and layers of trauma and things that I might not understand as a white person. You might be talking to me and I might be like, and there's layers and layers and layers that I'm just going to completely miss because I don't have that experience. You're not stuck with one just because they had an appointment available or your friend liked them, right? Because what works for your friend might. Okay. Good night, girl. It's 11 o'clock. I'm tired. This was day one back in Indiana after a little whirlwind to Vegas. This has been a really great conversation. Check out the webinar link. See if that's something that would be helpful to you. I really hope to see a lot of you there because it's going to help a lot of people in a very short amount of time. So that is what I like. Your typing is ASMR. I have a hairbrush. Did you find yourself letting go of friends during your recovery when discovering you again? 99.9% of my friends, and I'm glad you said that, are gone, and I haven't looked back. At first, it kind of hurts, and you're like, I'm being betrayed. Thanks for the likes, y'all. I feel, like nobody was really here for me. They only liked me when I was complaining about the relationship and they were getting drama. They don't like me when I left and I'm trying to help myself, and now I'm trying to help others. They don't like it. So I cut everyone else. I cut a lot of people out, and I cut out everybody who knew them. If you have hung out with my abuser, I think there's one exception. Snip, snip. But I feel better for it. I don't miss them. I don't miss the friendships. And I'm very selective about who I give my time to. Even ask Jamie. Jamie and I talk pretty much every day. And Jamie has done nothing to make me be like, but I'm still like, I'm very guarded, and I will randomly just like disappear, and I will randomly be like uncomfortable. Like I can't have a conversation right now. Like the other day, Jamie was like, hey, can you FaceTime? And I was like, wait, yes, I can. Because it's just a visceral reaction to like friends. And that's a completely natural response to having your basic understanding of what a human is and how a human will treat you. I don't have friends. I'm not allowed. I wasn't allowed to either. I was allowed to hang out with people who passed the abuser test. So if you came into our house and you didn't see through them and you were like, oh, they're so cute and funny and they love you so much, you were allowed in my house. I was allowed to go hang out with you. But if you came over and you were like side-eyeing them and you were like, something's off here. I think I made a video about that recently. About being isolated. I can't remember what it was. It's a very real thing. It was a very recent one on TikTok. I don't know if I brought it over here yet, but just all of a sudden, everyone is two-faced. Everyone is talking about you. Everyone is bad. Everyone is jealous of your relationship, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, yeah, that was a little fishy the other day. That person who's saying that, right on with that. Yep. That is one of the things that it took me being out for a while to look back and be like, oh, now I understand why they like this person, because that person is still friends with them, because that person still doesn't see them for who they are, and that person did not want me to talk about it publicly. No wonder my abuser liked them. How long has it taken you to date again for you personally, if at all? She's not dating and doesn't want to. I do not want to. I have moments of like, oh, I would hang out with someone here and there if they were super chill and didn't take any of my energy and didn't want anything from me, blah, blah, blah. But then I'm like, what's the point of that? What's more of that? And who wants that? I just can't. Like, no. And that's okay. There's no timeline on wanting to get back out there. So I have a lot of people say it's been 3 years, it's been 5 years. I have no desire whatsoever. Again, it's like the most massive level of like betrayal of your trust that you could ever have. And I think that it's a huge gift that we give ourselves to stay single. I don't want to like pressure anyone or judge anyone like, oh, you didn't stay single for more than 3 months. What's wrong with you? But like, it's been the best year being single, doing what I need to do, doing what I want to do, not letting anyone tread on me. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, if I give you my time, you are not so bad. I'm very, very picky, and I have family members here that I have not spent any time with because I'm like, I like how I feel around you. So no, I will not come to your house. Okay, we know you're tired. Again, thank you. Yes. Okay, yes. I'm gonna go. So thank you all so much. And I will try to come back again soon. I got to get this coaching certificate thing wrapped up. I'll let you know when I get it all squared away so we can dive into the coaching. But yeah, hang in there, y'all. Take care and go drink some water and go to bed. Bye, y'all.